After Top Gear gave the BYD seal a scathing review only a few months ago, a score of 6 out of 10, they said this: BYD will have to be very competitive with the pricing of the new seal in order to compete with its rivals, in particular with Tesla. Well, now we've seen the price, you have to be a little concerned. Are BYD delusional, or do they simply not want to sell the new seal? BYD have just revealed the new seal in Europe, but more importantly, they've revealed the prices and the specifications. And to my surprise, I'm not convinced that this is a deal that most customers will want to take up. But it does also give us some interesting insight on what the price of the BYD seal will be in New Zealand and Australia and other countries where we don't yet know what the price is. It's really going to be a tough fight for the BYD seal because it's taking on the Tesla Model 3. And prices, well, yeah, they're about on par. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. It's great to see you. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. BYD have released the prices in a few different European countries for the new seal, BYD seal. It's clearly a Tesla Model 3 competitor, very similar size. It's a little bit longer, but interior space, very, very similar. I've seen some reviews on this and they've tested the BYD seal. In general, the Model 3 has received significantly better reviews than the seal. The seal, in fact, got 6 out of 10 from Top Gear. Some other journalists have said better things about it. Its reviews have been hit and miss. One of the issues that BYD have admitted to is the ADAS, or the computer software on the seal, is it's not really up to scratch compared to competitors such as XPeng and NIO and Tesla and BMW and others. BYD, for that reason, have hired a new division. They're really focusing over the next 12 months on ADAS, improving their safety software. And that's resulted, if you don't believe me, well, have a look at the Euro NCAP test scores. They're significantly lower for BYD in that area than they are for some of their competitors. But anyhow, the BYD seal is still, in my opinion, very good value for money in China, where it undercuts the Model 3. However, in Europe, well, it doesn't undercut the Model 3. In fact, prices are pretty well on par. Now, there's 2 versions that have been revealed. They both come with an 82 kilowatt hour lithium-ion blade battery, or lithium iron phosphate, LFP battery pack, which is a really good battery actually. But the range of these cars is not that different, in fact, from the new Tesla Model 3. The first of them, the cheaper model, which is around 45,000 euros, about the same price as the Model 3. It's actually about 44,000. It comes with a single motor, right? It has about the same power as the Tesla Model 3, about the same range. Specifications are very similar, in fact. So they're very similarly priced. Of course, though, customers in Europe are well acquainted with the Tesla brand. They're not with the BYD brand. Now, the second model that BYD announced was the all-wheel drive model. The all-wheel drive model has the same battery pack, but it has a fair bit less range than the Tesla Model 3 long-range model. That Tesla Model 3 has, I believe, around 50 kilometers more WLTP range. I mean, for many people, that's neither here nor there. But the issue is this. With the rave reviews that the new Model 3 has received, and it has, I mean, if you've watched all the reviews, you'd have to agree with that statement. It's going to be a tough fight for BYD if they're going to price the seal at the same prices as the equivalent Tesla Model 3s. And this is really a reasonable situation. I think if you've spent a lot of time and effort establishing yourself in these countries, it's reasonable that customers would buy from you. I don't really understand why people buy Toyotas, for example. I don't think they offer anything compelling. I don't think they offer any real reason to buy one of their cars versus a competitor's. But the truth is, Toyota have been around for a long time. Once you know a company, you begin to buy from them. BYD has a lot of work to do in Europe, and their sales, in fact, have been unbelievably bad. There's been hundreds and hundreds of articles talking about BYD's EV launch in Europe, how they're going to decimate the market in Europe. I thought they certainly would be competitive. And then I started making videos about it. And then you guys started sending me emails showing me the actual prices at dealerships in Europe of their vehicles, which were more expensive than I could have ever possibly imagined. I mean, the Atto 3, more expensive than a Tesla Model Y. It's a much smaller car. that isn't equipped as well. It doesn't make sense. What is going on? Now, there's a few reasons for this. One of those is the fact that BYD is relying on a dealership model. Not its own dealers, it's using existing dealers that are kind of converting part of their dealership to selling BYDs as well. And they like to make their own premium on top. But either way, I'm kind of confused by this strategy. Now, for you guys in Australia and for you guys elsewhere, the UK, Europe, would you be willing to pay the same price for a similarly equipped BYD Seal as what you would pay for the new version of the Tesla Model 3? Now, even if you hate Elon Musk, and I know there's a lot of people that do, really, is that something you would still be willing to do? I think some people will, but I just don't think the number that will is really going to be that good. And if you have a look at BYD's current sales in Europe, you have to say they are really doing just nowhere near as well as what anyone, including myself, thought they would. Now, having a look at these numbers, BYD sold only 1,170 cars in Europe from January to July last year. That's across all of Europe, including the UK. Now, this year, their sales actually increased by about 120%. However, that means they only delivered 2,492 cars in Europe in the first 7 months of the year. And they sell cars in now about 12 different countries. I looked at dealerships in the UK, and there is plenty of choice for cars. In fact, they're fully stocked. You can get whatever color you want. You get delivery tomorrow within 24 hours, like Amazon style, right? Now, I'm joking, but there's a lot of stock available. So this is not about stock. BYD have a pricing problem in China, and Volkswagen CEO has just pointed this out. He said that BYD and Chinese car makers are no threat at all to European car manufacturers right now in Europe. And the reason is they're charging too much money for their cars. Now, do you agree with him? Let me know what you think in the comments. Now, that said, what are the specifications of these cars that BYD have revealed? The base version, which costs between 43 to 45,000 euros, depending on where you're looking, has a single electric motor mounted at the rear of the car, similar to the base version of the Tesla Model 3, with 230 kilowatt or 308 horsepower. Pretty similar figures to the base version of the Model 3. That means the car can hit 0 to 62 miles an hour in 5.9 seconds. This model has 570 kilometers of WLTP range, so a bit more than the base model of the Model 3. However, it has a much smaller boot than some of its rivals. The boot is 400 litres in size. It does have a frunk, which is 53 litres, and it does have a pretty large digital screen in the middle of the car, 15.6 inches, which is rotatable. It's also got a 10.25-inch LCD instrument panel and a 12-speaker DIN audio sound system. Now, speaking from experience, I didn't find the audio system in my personal BYD that I owned was all that great, but I did think that the battery pack was worth thinking about when you buy a car. I know that BYD's batteries are very good quality. Now, the higher spec BYD Seal costs 51,000 euros, about the same price as the Tesla Model 3 long range. They both have similar performance, similar amount of power, and they both have advantages and disadvantages depending on what your preferences are. But either way, I think really BYD, to be truly successful in Europe, would need to undercut Tesla by 10, maybe even 20%, just to establish the brand. At this point in time, clearly they seem unwilling to do that. So I think it's pretty unlikely their sales will take off anytime soon. Considering BYD's growth has been incredible in China this year, they're now obviously the biggest manufacturer in China, period. And considering the fact that more than 90% of BYD sales this year have been in China, clearly all of their eggs are in one basket. Now, we hear that BYD are going to sell their cars in about 40 different countries, and they are, but only dribs and drabs, just very, very small numbers here and there. At this point in time, BYD is very much clearly focused on the Chinese market, not on markets outside of China. There's really only 3 places worldwide where they're selling significant numbers of cars outside of China. That includes Israel, Thailand, and Australia. But those car markets are all fairly small. Now, what do you think? Which car would you pick? The BYD Seal or the Tesla Model 3? especially if they're both the same price. Which would be your preference if you were in the market for a car like this? Let me know in the comments, and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.